All right, folks, it's time for World Edition on August 27th, 2026. And of course, a lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV. Catastrophic floods killed over 353 in Nepal and Tibet, with more than 1,300 missing. Nepal flood deaths surges as 65 Americans are listed among the hundreds still missing. Rock landslides and glacial collapse likely caused floods in Nepal and Tibet, are what scientists are saying. So definitely that is something going on as well. And rising lakes are raising fears of new floods. So definitely that is something that's going on as well. Radko Madlik, the murderous butcher of Bosnia, has died at the age of 83. So convicted Bosnian Serbian war criminal Maldik dies at the age of 84. He was the former general convicted of the Bosnia genocide, and definitely that is something that folks will be talking about in the news as well. Qatar and Iran discuss proposed joint Iran-Oman shipping corridor through Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz deal inches closer as oil prices dip. U.S. commits to Tehran sanctions and oil gains as traders weigh prospects of easing Middle East supply disruptions. So Tehran engages in renewed diplomatic push, and all in that way. Taiwan parliament rejects government military drone plan and passes their own version. Legislature to vote on competing drone procurement bills on Thursday, and it looks like after the vote, they passed their own version and everything like that. So definitely it looks like drones will be a part of the news in Taiwan as well. Where drones cannot see, the Ukraine war is a deadly game of cat and mouse, is what the New York Times is reporting as well. A car bomb kills a military officer in St. Petersburg. Russia's serviceman killed in an explosion in St. Petersburg, is what the media is reporting. Lieutenant Colonel was reportedly killed in this car explosion, and all in that way. And Russia's sanctions are fueling a Canadian car theft epidemic. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And the world's deadliest glacier disaster, what some people are talking about as well. And officials leading Trump's Gaza ceasefire effort criticized Israel for its attack. Trump's top Gaza official says Israel is jeopardizing the ceasefire. Israel Hamas truce failure, point of no return, envoy warns. Board of Peace envoy knocks Israel's unacceptable Gaza policy as disarmament plan stalls. Three Secret Service officials placed on administrative leave. So they were said to be on leave amid an inquiry. So Secret Service officials placed on leave in inquiry over potential misconduct. So definitely this is an investigation going on dealing with the Secret Service. Moscow to summon Romanian envoy after Russian diplomat was expelled over the drone. So definitely it looks like Russian Foreign Ministry has summoned their Romanian representative, and definitely that's something going on in Europe. Regional power seeks off-ramp from Iran war, and oil prices remain low, and there was a new tanker strike in Hormuz as Iran vows retaliation for U.S. economic offensive, and this new tanker strike was a couple of days ago, and all along those lines. Norway's King Harald in very serious health condition is what the royal family is saying, as they've definitely canceled a lot of their plans as the Norway's royal family gathers at King Harald's bedside as his condition worsens. So it seems like he's in some very serious condition, and we'll send our prayers and other ways of letting folks know that you care to him and all along those ways. Russia says UK playing with fire amid report CIA chief has warned Kremlin not to attack NATO. Russia says it could strike UK military targets in response to Kyiv's use of British missiles. So Russia warns it could target the UK in the response to Kyiv firing British missiles, is what is being reported. And of course, we still got stuff going on about the liturgy. The liturgy wars, the latest volley, a papal thus. So active participation in liturgy leads us to relationship with God, is what the Pope is saying. And Pope Leo says Vatican II's liturgical reform was necessary for lay involvement. So definitely that's something going on in the religious part of the world as well. Russia says it launched a massive overnight strike on 9 Ukrainian cities. So Russia air attacks target Kyiv, ports, and industrial sites. So definitely this war does not seem to be letting up at all. France is not ready to face cheap drones yet, warns a top general. Explosive drone at German airport linked to Russian military intelligence is what a U.S. intel source is saying, and Europe eyes Russia in attacks on weapons and cargo, but Germany treads lightly. Germany's Merz warns attackers will pay price after that drone incident. And at least 12 dead as wildfires sweep through northern Algeria. Wildfires killed 12 people across several Algerian provinces. A new wave of fires hit Algeria, prompted urgent aerial intervention in Jejel. So Jordan extends condolences in Algeria over the wildfire deaths. And the Baltic state arms for a Russian threat as leaked letter shows growing fears. So Teshkevich, Russia could stage a provocation against Latvia from Belarusian territory. So apparently, according to Inbox EU, Lithuania was informed about the CIA chief's visit to Moscow. So a lot of people are still trying to figure out what took place in that meeting. Locked inside, grief and anger as Pakistan hospital fire kills 14 newborns. Fire tears through hospital nursery in Islamabad, Pakistan. And this was reported yesterday. No one can understand the pain. Fire in maternity ward kills at least 14 newborn babies in Pakistan's capital. And satellites are showing Saudi Arabia loading more oil in the Persian Gulf. So Saudi's response to the Houthis' attack on ships may be a new war. So under threat, Saudi Arabia is rerouting oil exports yet again, and Yemen is turning to Riyadh's Red Sea lifeline into a front line. So definitely lots going on in that space as well. And it looks like the true horrors of Biden's Afghan pullout have emerged on the 5th anniversary of that suicide bomb. That's what the conservative publication, the New York Post, is reporting, and the Washington Examiner is saying, we gave everything to fight the terrorists. Biden earned them. Where's the apology for Kapal and everything like that? So there's a lot of still people that are saying things negatively about Biden's role and all in that way. Each will have its own interpretation of what took place and everything like that. Haiti gang raid death toll rises to 47 as more than 50 are kidnapped, says the UN. Haiti conflict in numbers as gang inflicts another night of terror. Dozens massacred in Haiti, officials say, heightening fears of gangs and all in that space. So lots going on in that way and around there. Get to a little bit of U.S. news, and then I'll bring in Rick Rosner, see if other folks join us shortly as well. The Lindsay Clancy trial is going on. The closing arguments today in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial, and the jurors in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial are to hear closing arguments today and all along those lines. So I'm sure folks will be following that on Court TV and other outlets as well. The Social Security benefit cliff is here. Washington is struggling to wake up. To get the national debt under control, start with the retirement state, is what folks are reporting, including an opinion column in the Washington Post. The Cato Institute is saying borrowing to avoid Social Security reform could add $46 trillion to the debt by 2056. And we've already got a high debt, and they're talking about adding even more if we borrow from Social Security. And 4 killed after a plane crashes into an Alaska slough. 4 found dead in a submerged plane after a crash near the Seldovey airport, and all in that space. A small plane crashes in water next to remote Alaska coastal town, killing all 4 on board. And federal judge blocks Texas drag show ban, citing Dolly Parton, and the federal district judge allows sexually explicit shows for children and everything like that. That's what's being reported in the Texas scorecard. But it looks like Texas law banning drag shows where children may be present was struck down again. So definitely looks like the judge channeled Dolly Parton in blocking the Texas drag show ban. An ICE officer charged in a Minneapolis shooting released in Texas and everything like that. So judge denies Minnesota effort to extradite the ICE agent from Texas in all in that space. And Missouri Deputy AG missing 6 days after seeking to summit Wyoming's tallest peak is found disoriented but alive after summiting the Gannett Peak. So it looks like he was found 6 days after vanishing in the Wyoming wilderness, and all in that space. So definitely in the U.S. Canada tariffs are still going full force, and there's a lot of conversation about that as well. Like I said, you're going to bring in Rick Rosner. I do have to bring up a light story to him and all along those lines, and then see what things he's got about gas prices and all in that space. But I think I've mentioned on this show, I've definitely mentioned on other shows, that I am a Brewers fan, and they did win. They're in the first place, I think, in the whole baseball divisions right now. You know, the Dodgers and others are chasing them, and the Cubs are
best
in
record
their
in
own
baseball.
division. But the thing that I found funny, and it happens every year, was there was animals don't have any respect for what's going on in a baseball game. So apparently, a squirrel interrupted the New York Mets game yesterday. So that was like a lighthearted story that I saw, that they had to postpone the game while they tried to get the squirrel off the field, because the squirrel was like, "Hey, look, all I know is there's grass out here, and there's other things that I like to indulge myself in, including some of the food that humans are probably eating up in the stands." So he wanted to have his fun as well, and apparently he interrupted the game, and this apparently happens on a regular basis. I don't think there was even a famous case a couple of years ago in one of the California games. So those animals are like,
Right, I mean, okay. So, the Brewers, your team, best record in baseball, having won 82 games with 80% of the season done with. My team, second place, 80 games.
right.
So, gas, pay 115 of gas over $4 a gallon national average under second term Trump. So, it's been about 4 months of expensive gas. Under Biden, we had 5 months of expensive gas. We have 2.5 months, well, a little more than 2 months until the midterms. So it's my prediction that Trump's record of expensive gas will break Biden's by the midterms, which is not good for Trump. And even Biden, hold on, even Biden's expensive gas was largely due to Trump, because in 2020, when we had COVID and Trump was president, gas was under $1.80 because everything was shut down and nobody was going anyplace, nobody was buying gas. To save the oil companies, Trump negotiated with OPEC a 2-year deal to limit oil production, which was still going on in 2022 under Biden when Russia attacked Ukraine. So we quit buying Russian oil. So oil spiked for 1 week, $5 a gallon. As soon as that agreement ended in 2022, oil dropped back down. So, but one more thing, the Afghanistan thing, this is the 5-year anniversary of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's one more thing where Trump fucked Biden and the troops, because Trump, towards the end of his term as president, negotiated with the Taliban to release 5,000 Taliban prisoners. And he drew down the troops in America by December of 2020 to only 2,500 American troops, and negotiated an agreement. The Taliban agreed not to attack Kabul, the capital, for 6 months until after the U.S. withdrew in April of 2021. That was the agreement that Trump negotiated. Biden kept the troops in for 4 more months after that, till August. But yeah, the withdrawal was chaotic. The collapse of the Afghan army was immediate, and Biden fucked up too. But Trump set him up to fail with this terrible agreement and the troop drawdown.
Yeah, it definitely went down, and Trump had a lot to do with that as well. Apparently, the red states are not that happy with Trump right now, because apparently cattle ranchers are fuming, and they are blaming Trump because apparently the USDA recalled 30,000 pounds of Argentine beef sold in Texas and Florida. So he signed a controversial beef import plan despite the backlash from the ranchers.
77 cattle ranches, on average, go out of business every day. That's almost 30,000 ranches a year. Farmers have a suicide rate 3 times the national average.
Oh wow.
Job creation since Trump introduced tariffs in March of 2025 job creation is down 88%. Trump is fucking farmers and the economy.
Well, speaking of messing with the economy and everything like that, apparently the U.S. Army is planning a nuclear microreactors at 5 military bases as part of a 2.2 billion nuclear microreactor initiative and everything like that. And they're even saying that AI data centers, which I would know we've been talking about, could be next. But what's your thoughts about these microreactors being placed on these 5 military bases? I know we've got some military
I'm pro nuclear reactor. I'm not pro idiots operating nuclear reactors. Of the biggest nuclear disasters in the past 30, 40 years, 2 of them have been purely human error. Fukushima was a tidal wave.
Right.
So you can maybe criticize where they put those reactors as human error, but really it was a freaking tsunami. So that was not really human error. But 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl were both human screw-ups. And since then, reactor technology has gotten better to the point where nothing's foolproof, but reactors can be safe, and they provide, a ton of energy with almost no carbon footprint. The biggest problem with reactors is, as I said, when humans don't follow directions. Chernobyl.
They didn't do it either 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl, which is the two.
Well, with Chernobyl, they were running a safety check and they locked down critical systems, which is they intentionally turned off some of the systems leading to the meltdown. It was freaking horrible. There's still, I don't know, hundreds of square miles of Ukraine, because Chernobyl is in Ukraine, I believe, that are not fit for human habitation. And where the wild dogs who live there are blue now, some of them. So either they are suffering weird radioactive mutations, or else the dogs got into blue paint. But the modern nuclear reactors, they're great. And they should help address some of the energy issues we have coming up with AI.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this play out. Sasha and Rick, one of our favorite people, is back in the news, but he's saying that his trip had nothing to do with vaccines. So RFK Jr. said a Samoa trip had nothing to do with the vaccines, but new documents are refuting that. So they're saying that he lied in the Senate confirmation hearing, and that's what newly revealed.
RFK killed 7 dozen people in Samoa. RFK Jr., this has happened, I think, more than 10 years ago. He was already an anti-vaccination lunatic. He goes to Samoa. He says, you don't need to vaccinate against measles. Vaccines are dangerous. And so they don't vaccinate in Samoa. They get a massive measles outbreak that killed 83 people, more than half of them children. And it's on RFK. So he continues to lie about that, apparently.
Yeah, apparently he's lying about that. I do see another story involving California. We haven't talked about it in a while, but I think you and some of the Naked at Night people went recently on a new roller coaster ride. But apparently,
I went.
Huh?
Lance and JD and I, the cast and crew of Naked at Night, went on we got invited. I live close to the roller coaster. And as community relations, when they open up a new ride, people in the neighborhood are invited to try it out. So we tried it out.
Yeah, but they're saying that a Six Flags roller coaster landed 2 women in a hospital with alarmingly similar brain injuries. So they rode, and I don't know if that's when y'all went on, a Six Flags roller coaster, and both ended up needing emergency brain surgery. So the family of them, the man who died after riding the X2 at Six Flags, is seeking accountability.
There are the safety regulations for roller coasters are surprisingly lax. Every year a couple people, you think that people might get injured with the traveling, amusement parks set up by carnies who might be alcoholics, some of them. but you'd think the big amusement parks that those would be completely safe. Every year, people get injured and get killed. So before Lance and I went on this Fast and Furious roller coaster at Universal Studios amusement park, I read up on it to make sure that the G forces, the accelerational forces, were not going to mess up my brain. And it's an amazing ride. You go upside down 3 times. You don't really know where you are in space, because not only are you going loop-de-loop, but your chair is rotating. So it's very disorienting and kind of terrifying, but it leaves your brain intact.
Yeah, it leaves the brain intact, as I've told on this show and other shows before, and everything like that. And I want to hear Sasha's views of what's going on in Russia and all in that space. But before I get to that, I do remember that when my grandmother was alive, and this was back in the 80s, me and my brother, and he was a youngster, a preteen at the time, we all went down to Disney World in Florida and everything like that. And I just remember her looking up at the roller coaster, and the roller coaster doing one of them hesitation things where it stops and then it gets ready to go again. And she was like, "No, we're not going on that." So I think Malik might have thrown a temper tantrum as a youngster and everything. That's my brother and everything along.
Well, with modern rides, you can tell that everything is calculated with, high tech, a computer program, probably a bunch of AI determines all the forces, all the trajectory. But a roller coaster that was built in 1890 out of wood that's still in use, no calculations, very few, and nobody did the math as to, what happens to somebody's head on one of these things. And yeah, you can get knocked around.
If you get knocked around. Hey, Sasha, it looks like a Trump administration is going to be paying a German firm, RWE, $1.2 billion to halt U.S. wind projects and everything. So this was reported a couple of weeks ago, but now they're saying how the wind projects got replaced by a $900 million payday to a Trump donor firm. So we know that it is Jatovia and others have said Trump is a very transactional president and everything like that. So are you ever surprised when you hear about these deals that are out there that Trump and his family get paid a significant amount of money to do these crazy deals and everything like that?
I'm surprised that anyone in a free world is considering any deals with Trump, whether to buy something from him or to sell something to him. It doesn't matter. You are talking to a liar, to a con man, and you will be squeezed out at the end of it. Or the best case scenario, you will spend several months negotiating something, and then the conditions will change in the very last moment. So you will be lucky to escape and just run away as far as possible. So I don't believe in any deals with Trump or United States, and that's my position.
So the main headline, this is for Sasha, on Drudge, is that Putin is considering using tactical nuclear weapons. A tactical nuke is still a nuke. It just is a little less powerful than the ones that blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So what do you think? Is that a possibility, Sasha?
If he would use nuclear, the nukes, so-called tactical nukes, why would he discuss it with anybody? Why wouldn't he go ahead and just use it? Why is he talking about it for the last 3-4 years? I wouldn't trust even a second.
Well, speaking of not trusting him and everything, Sasha, it looks like Trump and Pete Hegseth are weighing pulling U.S. troops from Europe, and NATO are bracing for the payback. So what is your thoughts around this? Because apparently Pentagon's NATO review is preparing the troop options for Hegseth by November 6th. So we're not talking that far away. We're talking a few months and everything like that. So they're saying that this troop review will speed up Europe taking on its own defense. So it sounds like we're going to be pulling out, and there's a lot of U.S. bases throughout Europe. So what is your take on this?
Europeans relying on any U.S. possible help less and less. And they're prepared now to take fight to Russia themselves without any participation of U.S. No one wants to deal with U.S., whether it's a commercial transaction or military exercises or just anything. U.S. has to pack those things that it still has in the Middle East and just go back home, and preferably to absolutely liquidate the Pentagon and create a real army instead of ones that
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, to Toby and Rick, you know that coming up very soon, this will be in September, so that's only about a few days away and everything like that. Apparently, Republicans are a little bit worried that their Trumpalooza, that's what they're calling it, some people, convention will be a bust because there's not oftentimes a midterm convention, but they're going to have one in Texas the next month, and there's already some panic among the Republicans that this could backfire horribly and everything like that. So,
Well, so
what's your take and everything
so
like
Trump
that?
no longer has any control over what he says, right? Apparently, people talk about frontotemporal dementia. The front of your brain, right here, right freaking here, is where the part of your brain that tells you not to do bad stuff. There's stuff you want to do. You walk through a store, you want to steal stuff. You see a person you're attracted to, you want to go grab their butt. The front of your brain is the part of your brain that says, that's a terrible idea, don't do it. And apparently Trump's front of his brain is possibly compromised. So yeah, having a midterm convention with Trump already like having the lowest approval rating of any president since Harry Truman 80 years ago, you're going to put him in front of people and have him say stuff. It's risky.
It's very risky and everything like that. So we'll see how this all plays out.
The man during the campaign talked about how great Jack Nicholson's penis was.
Yeah.
And we're saying that people are going to look at him and say, hey, I don't want to vote. Lindsey Graham's sister in a debate said she didn't know anything about foreign politics, foreign affairs, anything. In the middle of a war, South Carolina voted for her.
They did vote for it.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham was famous. You may have disagreed with his policy stances, but he was famous for knowing a ton about foreign affairs.
Yeah.
Yep. The only reason they voted for Lindsey Graham's sister, Donald Trump.
It's
So I don't know what you I don't. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna say some dumb stuff, and the Trumpapalooza. It's gonna be a trash fest like all the other ones.
Yeah.
And we're expecting that oh no, the GOP are gonna all they're gonna turn around and say is transgender, and they're gonna say Democrats, socialists.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what Darlene Graham ran on. She said, I don't know about foreign affairs, but I know that boys shouldn't be playing girls' sports. Well, she's representing South Carolina, and it's already illegal to have trans athletes. It's been illegal in South Carolina, I think, since 2022. So she's running on an issue that's already been settled in the state that she wants to represent.
And she probably doesn't even know who the coach of South Carolina is. And I'm just being slightly sarcastic because hopefully everybody knows who the heck Don Staley is.
No, she probably doesn't know Dawn Staley. I mean, the only reason Lindsey Graham's sister is there is because all she's going to say is yes to whatever Trump wants. That's the only reason. And people want that. The people in South Carolina, or the GOP in South Carolina, want that. So
There are only 3 states where Trump has net positive approval, where there are more people who think he's doing a good job than doing a bad job. That's Idaho, Wyoming, West Virginia, 3 of the smallest U.S. states.
Yeah, those are definitely some small states and everything like that. And historically, well, I'm not sure about West Virginia because I think it's been a swing state with Manchin and others, but the other two have definitely been more Republican.
Wyoming has like 2 cows for every person. There are only about 600,000 people in Wyoming. And it's maybe the most conservative state, but nobody frickin' lives there.
No, we used to have a guest that came in from Wyoming all the time, and she was very pro-Trump and everything like that. I haven't seen her come back, even though I think Nick has.
It's because I'm here. She hates me.
Say what?
She hates me that I checked her on Donald Trump. She just wanted to come out here and spout on Donald Trump without being challenged, so she hated the fact that I challenged her. Yeah. That's why most Trumpers don't really come, because, when they get challenged and checked, they get agitated and aggravated.
Wyoming is a beautiful state, but it's like Canada, where the conditions are brutal, and all the big cities are within 20 miles of the Colorado border, the southern border, and it just gets worse. The more north you go, the harsher the conditions get, and it's just not a very livable state.
No, like you said, got more cows than it does humans and everything. It looks like the Chinese hackers are being reported to have broke into the Department of Justice, NASA, and the Federal Reserve, and the Senate. So the U.S. is saying that they broke into these things and all along those lines. So how concerned are we about hackers from China hacking government agencies and everything like that?
This goes on every millisecond of every day. The Chinese hackers, both official hackers, the U.S. tries to hack China, they try to hack us. Russia's in there, and then you've got private, hackers. There are probably a trillion attacks a day.
Let me put it a different way, Rick, because you're giving the politically correct way.
Okay.
The honest way, it's inevitable, because we haven't. I mean, it's yes, happened in the past, but we have a incompetent administration that has cut the funding for that area and dismantled many areas that protect us. So when we're looking at the Chinese hackers that are coming through, they are going to break in. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
We're not prepared for it. AI has already broken through some areas. That's one piece. They're going to use AI because, again, right now the infrastructure and everything that China had placed and focused on was education-wise, and that's why they're starting to catch us rapidly and actually lead in some areas in technology. So what we have as we regress as a country, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Should we be worried? Sure. But we should also be worried about the beef that's coming in that we don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
Actually, Argentina, there was an Argentina beef supplier that Trump was tied to that a recall just happened against. So what's happening? The Chinese hackers, they're going to break through. It's inevitable. Because
but they won't necessarily break stuff. What they'll do is they'll put in back doors. So if the shit ever hits the fan with China has what they can do is they can set off a nuke over 10 miles over Washington, D.C. Doesn't kill people, breaks a lot of windows, and it fries all the electronics in D.C. at the same time that China does a hack attack that shuts down all of America's technical infrastructure.
Yeah.
that's a D-Day thing. What they'll do, if you have all the information and you're able to get in and do whatever you want, why do I need to drop a bomb?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Iran didn't need to they don't really need to do much. They control the Strait of Hormuz. So what do they need to do in terms of attacking the U.S. now? They control the whole world economic supply. So if you control the back end, hey, you want to go into negotiations? Okay, let's talk. Now, I don't like what you're doing there. If you really want that, you got to give me a little bit more. Well, you don't want to give me more? Okay, guess what I can do? That's where it is. It's not about D-Day dropping bombs now. It's about full-blown control and doing whatever I want to. I now have the upper hand. That's where that is.
And messaging. If China, like, everybody freaks out about TikTok stealing our data. Well, yeah, everything steals everybody's data all the time. And what you do is you use that to build algorithms so you can message people effectively. AI-based messaging to try to change your mind is still pretty primitive, but it won't always be. The first presidential election with a ton of AI messaging was 2016, but it was super primitive. All that the analytics did was put you into one of a half dozen buckets. And so that there were 6 different sets of messages going out, and they, everybody had a number from 1 to 6. Which set of messages did you get? That's pretty primitive, but it was still enough to help Trump win the election.
And it definitely helped Trump win the election, everything like that. Hey, Sasha, what is your take on, and I know you'll be talking about this tomorrow as well, but it looked like Russia launched a massive attack on several cities, including Kyiv, where I know our man Ivan is at, and everything along those lines, but it looks like they launched a massive attack, and I guess they're trying to change the course of the war with this attack. But I just wanted your take on this latest attack from Russia, which I think hit 9 major cities.
Well, there's nothing new in what Russians are doing. It's we're doing for the last 4.5 years. So there's nothing new about it. Ukraine is continuing to attack Russian the oil refineries, the marketplaces of all kinds. And essentially that creates much more damage to Russia, at least economic damage, than all Western sanctions put together. Ukraine is doing the job of the West. West are saying, yeah, we're sympathetic to you, yeah, we're going to help you. Well, Western Europe, specifically Great Britain, they indeed help Ukraine big time. They're supplying the latest, the very strong, mighty drones, and they modified their missiles like Storm Shadows and Scalp. They threw away any American component of this missile. So American has no say whether Ukrainians can use them against Russia, or when to use it, or where to use it, or so on. Thank you, America. Bye-bye. That's it. That's more than enough. Get busy with your crazy president and enjoy yourself.
So if you grew up in a family with an alcoholic parent and there are a bunch of kids, often what happens is one kid takes responsibility for dealing with the parent, the crazy parent, and the other kids kind of tiptoe away. They grow up, they move away, and the one unfortunate kid grows up to be the one who stays in the house, stays in that same town, and every time the parent acts out, that kid's the one who has to deal with it. And Ukraine is that kid. The rest of Europe and the U.S. are, cheering to some extent from afar, and Ukraine takes the brunt of dealing with the awful behavior.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's a major goal for the West and the United States for many, many years was to weaken Russia as much as possible. It's happening right now, and who does the job is
Very much true and everything like that.
So Russia as a superpower isn't very super. They've only got 160 million people. We have twice as many people. China has 8 times as many people. Their economy is not strong. They're not even, they keep wanting to get let back into the G7, but really it would have to be like the G11 or 12 because their production isn't great for and so this war has been going on for more than 4 years. Tremendous expenditures, tremendous loss of humans for Russia, and the world's not happy that the war continues, but in a number of ways they're not unhappy.
Yeah, they're not unhappy at all and everything like that. Hey, Rick, I've got to tease you because we were talking about some of the things that Jacoby was going to bring up pictures and everything along those lines. But I did see another interesting story involving our universities, and it just came out today and everything. But a Rutgers dean has been arrested over filming, and this almost sounds like something out of Animal House, upskirt videos. So the Rutgers University Dean of Research at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences was arrested for invasion of privacy and everything like that, because apparently he was accused of taking upskirt videos. So I guess that means that the camera's hidden somewhere and he's taking pictures up the skirt of these young ladies and everything.
So
like
old guys, I would bet that this guy is in his 60s at the least. Old guys have a dumb relationship with women and porn, where like young guys we know are not having as much sex. Gen Z, they stay home, they don't try to interact with women, they just stay home and jerk off. And so you get less of this among Gen Z than you do among boomers who still kind of stride through the world thinking that the women are kind of that they enjoy a little flirting, which is, and what a boomer considers flirting is saying creepy shit to a woman, and the woman just kind of walks away without creeped out.
This is different though. This is basically variation of sexual assault though.
Yeah, but it's old guy sexual assault. Weinstein old, Cosby old, Trump old. I feel like now I haven't seen the stats, but I feel like an oldster is more likely to do creepy sexual shit with a woman, an actual live woman, than younger generations are. Because
no, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, you had the kid who was the Olympic swimmer who was doing sick stuff like this. So
all right. I would still make my argument in that if you're famous, like
if you're famous,
Tiger Woods, freaking Tiger Woods, he was famous since he was 2 years old. He never developed any non-creepy game. With women is, hey, I'm Tiger Woods. Let's go have sex in my car. He didn't have any subtlety, and it kicked his ass. So, I don't know, an Olympic athlete, maybe he's got that same sense of entitlement.
I mean, it's just that power dynamic. Yeah, it's going to happen regardless of sexual assault, regardless. There was more to the Ohio State case that what's his name, the congressman, should be in jail about.
Jim, what's his face?
Yep.
But to your point, isn't there been a rise? Because I know that's something they even tried to.
Yes, there's a rise.
A rise in sexual assault on college campuses over the last couple of years, and part of that might be because Trump has kind of made it acceptable to some degree to do some of these things.
Not acceptable, but he's trying to destroy the Department of Education, and that includes their sexual assault enforcement unit. That when a college is covering up rape, right, the Department of Education is empowered to go in, investigate, and make consequences. Trump shut that down. There hasn't been an investigation of a college. Go ahead.
You got that shut down. You also have the reporting situation that got shut down in the military. You also have He was with his family was with the Tate brothers. You also have so he Trump, same thing with racism. Trump didn't create racism, but he gave it a megaphone. Trump with sexual assault didn't create sexual assault. He gave it a megaphone. And people that voted for him gave it an okay. Trump himself committed what the judges say is rape. And people voted for him. People support the Tate brothers. People are supportive of Enos Cantor and the other guy for attacking for going into and attacking women's sports. When Enos Cantor, they're cheering him on for berating a woman who challenged his expressions, and he came trolling. And people were cheering on Enos Cantor. They didn't even care about what he was doing to women's sports when he steps foot on the court. When everybody who does that, regardless of what you support, are getting kicked out. But no, they're changing it to their support of Enos Cantor. They're supporting the other guy. The other guy has he's already been charged with a restraining order against his wife and kid. So because he beat his wife and kid, but people are supporting that. So that is he is just because of the Trumposphere and MAGA, they've given an okay to all this. And that's just the way
Trump, but Hegseth paid a $50,000 settlement to a mom who was in a hot tub at a hotel a few years ago, and Trump, according to the allegation, not Trump, Hegseth, drunk, gets in the hot tub and sexually assaults her. And that's the Secretary of Defense is
the guy going against Tallarico in Texas.
Yeah, they've all done some major things.
So they have given the okay to it, and we have to be honest about it. I mean, it's okay. They will justify it as long as there's a power set up in there. So if they stay in power, they're going to keep it. It's okay.
If you take a women's studies class and you study rape, you know that there's most rapes are a power move rather than a sex move.
Yep.
Where,
Totally.
Like Trump. When he rapes somebody, he uses his fingers. He's not going to get sexual gratification. He's just going to exert his power over a woman and enjoy humiliating her.
And that's what it's all about is humiliation and things along those lines. Hey, Jacoby, you said you didn't think it was going to be a male that's going to take over Kellen Levitt's job on one of our previous episodes, but now he is, meaning Trump, floating the idea of Scott Jennings, another voice from Fox, being his press secretary. He's also floating the name of a couple of women too, but he is floating the idea of Scott Jennings being his press secretary. So you still think it's going to be another woman, or is he going to get somebody like Scott Jennings?
No, it'll be another woman.
But it doesn't matter.
It's going to be a white blonde woman.
It's just he needs a bullshitter. To some extent, any press secretary is going to do a certain amount of bullshitting, but with under Trump, it's all bullshit. Every moment of a press conference is because they have nothing to stand on. Trump is deep underwater on all major issues. Underwater immigration, even though that's his strength. Trade, economy, inflation.
I mean, he's horrible, but the thing is, in terms of the press secretary, he's going to try and lean on the whole she's pretty idea. So that's why I say it's going to be a blonde white woman or whatever that he prefers in terms of that, whatever he considers pretty at that moment. And Scott Jennings, honestly, he's a horrible individual that has changed everything he said just to defend and protect Trump. And the things that he says, his argumentative tactic is the same argumentative tactic, and I think it's got to be just a normal Republican way of talking. But it's the same thing that Shaq used to come over here and do. Oh, well, you don't care about. That's his whole thing. If you argue this one point, then you don't care about. And nothing against Shaq. Love to do to get a fine guy, but that's the argumentative tactic. It's the same thing that when Nick is on here, Nick says the same thing. It's the same pattern. Well, you don't like women because you don't want to protect women's sports. No, I've said nothing of the sort. So yeah, that's why Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings. That's what he does.
Well, the Scott Jennings is on CNN. CNN likes to do rage panels where they'll have 4 or 5 people. They have so many hours of this every day, where they'll pick an issue, they'll bring on 2/3 liberals, 1/3 conservative knuckleheads, and people watch to get pissed off at Scott Jennings, who uses unfair arguments to. And what you get fear watching and rage watching, because you hear Scott Jennings bullshit and you're like, that's bullshit. And then you get scared that people believe his bullshit.
The thing is, people do believe it though. That's the sad part. Because that works. Oh, you don't like women, you don't want to protect women in women's sports. That's not what I said. Oh, you don't like Israel. That's not what I said. But that's what he does.
But there's a lot of that goes on, because I saw that there was a YouTuber, I think he might have been a brother and everything like that, but apparently there's a lot of permission given to folks to kind of go to the extreme, because apparently this YouTuber, Chris Sales, was arrested for allegedly lying to cops about kids being in danger. So how much of this is the new age of social media and social media news, where people are taking risk and kind of like just saying things willy-nilly, whether it's true or not, and everything like that? And part of that is probably Trump giving permission to folks to do things like this, or even the Fox News people. So what's our take on this notion of a lot of people?
Yeah, on social media, you can be anonymous if you want, which means you can say what you want without fear of repercussion.
Right.
It's about clicks. You make money.
Yeah. We should talk about this glacier disaster in Tibet, Nepal, where there's an earthquake. It knocks loose a chunk of glacier that's nearly a half mile wide. It falls hundreds of feet to the riverbed, and the force of the crash liquefies this giant chunk of ice, and it creates a wall 10 to 15 of water, a wave that moves down this river and scours the riverbanks, and 1,000 people are missing. And because everybody has a phone now, there are 8 different views of this horrible disaster. It looks like people were comparing it to the disaster movie 2012. It looks fake, but it's not. This huge wall of water just engulfing entire little towns.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, there's a lot of that.
From what I understood is that it wasn't an earthquake. It was just the amount of water and the destruction that came through that registered on the Richter scale.
Whatever it did, it registered as if it was maybe just the glacier hitting the ground, it still registered as a 4.4 quake.
Yeah, just the amount of the size and the sheer impact being able to register like that is freaky.
It's very freaky and everything like that. Coming back to the news in the political front and everything like that, for both you, Rick, and Joey, and even Sasha, how concerned are you about the power of the cartels? Because they just recently arrested a suspect for allegedly killing an influencer on a live stream in Mexico, and it was in a cartel hit part of Mexico, Sinaloa. and everything along those lines. But I just wonder, are we ever going to see the cartels lose their grip on certain parts of the world and everything like that? Definitely looks like this.
Well, I don't think the cartels are going to go away thanks to law enforcement. It's like, I bring this example up a lot, but 120 years ago, there was a horse shit and pee problem in major cities, especially Manhattan, because you had 100,000 horses or more on the streets of Manhattan every day. And people are like, how are we going to fix this? And the only way to fix it was cars came along and replaced horses. There was no fix as long as you needed horses. As long as the U.S., as long as people love drugs in the U.S., the cartels will remain in power.
Yeah, that makes a lot.
But cartels are mafia organizations, are gangs. I mean, they're all just similar things, just with different names.
Yep, and like you said, they're very much involved in the drug business, whether it's the mafia.
And then you have who needs a cartel when you have a crime syndicate running the U.S. government right now?
Yeah, that's a good description. They are like their own crime syndicate and everything, because they all have their criminal background. Well, not all, but quite a few of the leaders do have a criminal background of one sort or another.
But what could wipe out the cartels in 50 years is on the demand side. If every young person in the U.S. it's like the Matrix. If everybody just spends 14 hours a day jacked into virtual reality rigs, then they get everything they need from their virtual worlds, then demand for drugs in the real world will go way down. We're seeing, as I always mention, sex is down by 1/3 because people replace it with online crap. So if that does the same thing to the drug market, then maybe the cartels get smaller. They go away in 20 years. I don't know.
Hopefully they'll go away and everything like that. Utopia, we've got a few more minutes to go and everything. I have to tease you about something and along those lines, because like myself, you are somewhat of a known figure here in Durham because of some of the things you've done in the gaming world and the baseball announcing world, and I consider myself somewhat of a known figure as well, not just because of Pod TV, but other things I do in Hayti and other places, and all along those lines. But I saw a great commercial on Facebook and everything like that. It was about your gaming activity at the Heritage Center and all along those lines. But they just said that we are doing a partnership with Chitovi, and I was going to myself as a marketing person, who is this Chitovi? And all along those lines, because they never identified why they were doing it with you, that you are a gaming person, that you're got bolts of the gaming, and that you're in the gaming space. It was just like your name was thrown out there and everything like that. So it was quite humorous, because I'm sitting there, I'm going to have to tease my folks at work about that, because I'm going like, wait a minute, nobody knows who he is if they're just getting the commercial and everything like that, because I don't know that you have a one name identity like Madonna that everybody will automatically know who Chitovi is and everything like that. So it was kind of humorous watching them try to market you.
Yeah.
All right, so
and then they go to my
go back
Facebook
to,
page.
sorry.
That's all crazy.
Huh?
So to go back to drugs,
Yeah.
I looked it up. Cocaine is a social drug. You do it in club settings. It makes you super chatty, and it's down. Cocaine use is down 10% since 2020. Then I looked up ecstasy, another social drug. You go to a club, you go to a rave, you do ecstasy. It makes you love everybody. Ecstasy is down since the beginning of the century. So that those trends might continue as people become less social.
But won't they find another drug? I mean, you just named the two that were out there.
Fentanyl use is down, and one reason there's some, that we're stopping it, but really it's because the people who are most likely to die from fentanyl are already dead.
Well, I was talking to a friend, speaking of fentanyl, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me that he carries, just in case somebody is having an attack, a can of Narcan, because he's involved in the event space and everything like that. So that's something that people can do. I know that at the universities, I want to say definitely at Duke, and I want to say at maybe even Central, there are places where you can actually get access to the Narcan should you see somebody have a Narcan attack. I think that that's a trend throughout the country and everything like that. So there are ways that people are aware of the danger of the drug, and they're trying to make the antidote, for lack of a better term, somewhat available.
Yeah. Let me recommend a TV show. My wife and I are watching Furious, which is about a serial killer who uses fentanyl to control her victims. It's a really effed up show in a good way. It stars Emmy Rossum, and it's very disturbing.
I got you one that's on a more, well, it's not really a positive note, but it's well, I guess it would be. It's in the Star Wars lore, which shows I think Darth Maul is a better character than Darth Vader.
Okay.
But Disney released Maul Shadow Lord. It's animated, but Maul Shadow Lord about a month ago, maybe a little bit more. But it does a little bit of backstory, more so on Darth Maul, and it's a great tale. The way they've done it, and the way the animation is phenomenal, but the story they're telling is very compelling. And yes, the tale of Darth Maul is actually really, really great.
Yeah, he and everything. Hey, Rick, and then I'm going to get us out of here. And this is another light story. I was watching, even though because of events, I didn't see the last 2 weeks, even though I understand Ice-T is no longer there and everything. But there's been this crazy game show called The Nation's Dumbest and everything like that. And it looks like Alex Baldwin's wife may be the one that gets the title and everything, because I think she's still on there, and they're down to like their last finals, because this was a bunch of celebrities, including Andrew Yang, that were trying to get the honor of not being the nation's dumbest and everything like that. So I was wondering if you watched that show.
I've had, I've created and produced game shows. I've competed on game shows. I've sued a game show, and yeah, how smart contestants are part of the mix. Like there's a show on NBC called The Wall, and part of what makes that show work is contestants who don't know anything. They ask some pretty easy questions, and the contestants don't know the answer. Millionaire, when it went to syndication, it didn't want to keep giving out big prizes, so they changed how they recruited contestants and picked dumber contestants, so they wouldn't win as much money. So yeah, dumbness has always been part of the calculations that go into game shows. This one just makes it explicit.
Yeah, it's making it very explicit. And like I said, I think it was either last week or the week before that Ice-T finally got to graduate, because you're trying to get out of school, and then the last one that is there will be the one that has the dunce hat. But like I said, it seems like, because some people are thinking that she may be throwing the game, because there is sometimes people that will intentionally not win contests. So I have.
To the opposite side, every once in a while I'll watch a little bit of Jeopardy. Jeopardy seems to have gotten harder.
Oh yeah.
It is freaking brutal now.
It is very brutal. I try to play along with Jeopardy as well, and it's not always easy. I consider myself lucky if I get about, because some of them are in categories that I don't know. So I consider myself lucky if I get about a third right. I mean, you're a Mensa member, so you may get maybe more.
So I trained to be on Jeopardy, and I was on Jeopardy, and I lost on Jeopardy. And when I was at my best, out of 60 questions, I could answer close to 50 of the questions, which is what really, to win Jeopardy, you should probably be able to answer more than 55 out of 60 questions. Right. That involves being on a trivia team for years, like Ken Jennings. Like he probably did bar trivia 5 nights a week for year after year, and now he's the host of freaking Jeopardy.
Yep, definitely along those lines. We'll get ready to get us on out of here and everything like that. So definitely it should be fun, and we'll be back on World Politics later on this evening. I think Coco's got her show as well, even though I got to check with her.
Okay, I got to go. My wife's calling in. She's on a road trip. I'll see you either later today or tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Bye.